Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to hate to call them special episodes because they're really not, but we've lost not one, but two. We'll talk mainly about one of them today, but we lost two prominent members of the music scene today, and both came as quite a surprise. Joined here by Mr. Steven Reid. You know, if Steven's here with me on something like this, I brought him in for a reason. Mr. Michael Clarkin, otherwise known, well, Anthony Michael Clarkin, otherwise known as Tony Clarkin from Magnum, passed away today at the age of 77, quite unexpectedly. And that kind of hit me like a ton of bricks about an hour ago, like thinking we've got the brand new Magnum album set to come out this week, and now he's gone, just like that.
Yeah, crazy. It's really hit me quite hard, to be honest with you. Magnum have been a constant in my musical journey from, well,
Way back when.
we'll go right back to the 80s here on a Storyteller's Night.
Yeah.
The run through Vigilante on Wings of Heaven was just huge for me back then. And obviously the band split for a period of time, mid 90s, about 95, I think, reformed in 2001, and we had Hard Rain in the meantime. What strikes me more than anything else about Tony Clarkin is not just that he recorded the guitars and was a linchpin in a band that was consistent from the late 70s right through to, well, this week. I mean, we've heard the singles off the new album and they're really good. But he wrote basically all of that. He wrote
Everything.
basically
Everything.
with, I don't know, 3 or 4 tracks, I think across Goodnight LA and Breath of Life. Basically, he wrote every note, every word on these albums. Quite an incredible body of work. I mean, 23 studio albums from Magnum as of the new one that is just about to come, Here Comes the Rain. And you think about that as 10, 12 tracks on all of these albums, plus there's bonus tracks and there's archival releases and there's demos out there, and it's hundreds of songs that this guy wrote. And I sit here and struggle to think, well, do you know what? That's the bad one. There was a standard that they just didn't drop below. Even the albums that I'm less are less of a favourite of mine are still just ridiculously good. Do you know?
Ridiculously good.
We did
Yeah.
a ranking a long time ago. Probably I think it was my debut on the channel.
Yep.
I struggled to say a bad thing about the band. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, so many just amazing records across their career, whatever you want to call the music of Magnum. You know, is it pop? Is it hard rock? Is it a little bit of prog? Is it AOR? Is it melodic rock? It's all this and more. And you know, in our ranking, we had such a hard time with this because the quality from the beginning to the end, and I'm leaving out a whole bunch in the middle. I just grabbed a bunch here. Yeah, I mean, the most recent stuff, I love the newer albums. I absolutely love them. And we all raved about, you know, all of these. And
Yeah.
it's almost like, you know, we have a joke amongst us here on the channel, especially, you know, Stephen and Simon and myself, that it's like usually the beginning of every new year, there's a new Magnum album, right? So here we are. Just last week, I realized, oh, I have to put that on my to order list because it's coming out next week. And then I was anticipating that being released on Friday. And then I saw the news and I'm like, but wait, Tony can't leave us. They have a new album to promote. And I'm like, oh no, this is terrible. But apparently, as we were talking off air, some kind of spinal issue came up with him around the holidays, which prompted them to hold off on any live shows, but the album was still going to come out. And now, like, I guess complications arose from that. I don't know. They haven't really announced yet.
I don't even know if they're linked. They may or may not be. I'm not sure. Because the spinal issues appear to be more about mobility and his ability to kind of stand or hold a weight. Obviously, you're going to hold a guitar
Yeah.
all show for an hour and a half, 2 hours, or whatever. That was not something that was going to be possible. But they're saying after a short illness is what's happened at this point. So whether the two are even connected, I don't know, and probably best not to speculate at this stage. All I know is that it was after a short illness, and he was surrounded by people that loved him. So I mean, there's no right way to go, but if there's a better way to go, then I suppose that is it. I mean, it's Magnum are just a constant for me. Do you know, I shared on Twitter this morning, just a complete part of stupidity before this news broke, that that I was doing the Bob Catley workout routine for 2024. That was my New Year's resolution. You stand stock still and you wave your hands and your arms in the air. But the reason that that popped into my head today was because I just happened to think, you know what, I need to hear Vigilante. I need to hear the title track from this album. And I just found a performance that they had recorded on The Tube, which was on Channel 4 over here when Magnum were at kind of their commercial peak as they were about to hit as Vigilante went into Wings of Heaven. And I watched it and thought, what a great band. And they were just Tony the Hat Clarkin as he was back then,
Yes,
as he is on the
always.
back of,
Yep.
yeah, he always wore the hat. Here he is wearing his hat on Wings of Heaven here. And then in latter years, he decided to shave it all off and look very distinguished at doing so.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he was. There's people that can carry that off, and there's people who can't. And Tony, thankfully, most definitely could.
Yeah.
But I watched it just purely because I wanted to. Do you know? Because at this moment, I just kind of thought Vigilante popped in my head, and I've got to hear that. And I just happened to have at work, so you've got all the screens and everything on the go, and I put it on just because most weeks at some point I think I need to hear a Magnum song, and it's very, very odd to think that we're not going to get so much new music. I would guess or hope, I don't know if the vaults have been emptied or whatever, there may be more to come in that sense, but it's quite, I can't express how sad I am that the new album, whether it comes this week or not,
Because it's
will be.
final, right? Because
Yeah,
you would
yeah,
assume, and again, we don't want to speculate, but we would assume, based on the fact that he is the driving member of the band, writes all the songs, arranges everything, how do you do this band without him? Bob Catley is the voice,
yeah,
but
and let's be honest, the two are like that. Even during Hard Rain, when Magnum were no longer for that period of time, those two guys still work together. And yeah, in say more recent times, last couple of decades, um, uh, Bob went out and did some solo stuff and various things like that, and he has recorded with other artists. And that's a good thing. I like that you can't get enough of these guys, and time is finite, as we're discovering. So the more you can squeeze in, if you want to, then the better. But yeah, the two for me go hand in hand. You think of Tony Clarkin, you think of Bob Catley, almost to the extent sometimes that I confuse their names because they are just this
yeah,
to me. So my heart goes out to him and the rest of the band and all the ex band members and all of these guys. But I can't imagine that Magnum can continue without one of those two guys. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Let's not speculate, and I wouldn't cast aspersions because who knows.
yeah.
But surely not. I wouldn't have thought. But
Which
yeah,
makes all the more bittersweet the new album coming out, right? Obviously, there's probably going to be more attention put towards it because we just lost him. You hate for that to happen, but that's just kind of the way it works out. And if this will be the final curtain call for Magnum, how will this brand new album released on the eve of his death look in the grand scheme of things, right? That remains to be seen. But yeah, it's just you can never time these things, right? Timing is always everything, and sometimes it just doesn't work out in the way that you want it, right?
yeah. I mean, I'm sure that with the way that he worked, because he was constantly writing songs. If he wasn't recording an album or playing a show, he was writing songs. That was his passion. That's what it drove him every day. But I suppose the positive is that there isn't kind of half an album sitting there because really Tony was the guy that was crafting nearly all of the sound of the band. In that sense, you would hate to think that there was a kind of half finished thing there that somebody might feel, let's get that out there. And as far as I'd want to hear it, I would happily have had let say anyone say, you know what, we'll go and take that to the next step. But at least I suppose from maybe a very selfish point of view, we don't have that. We will have an album that will allow us to celebrate his greatness. Because to me, he really is one of the unsung heroes, especially the UK scene.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of another band. There are lots of bands that Magnum took inspiration from, as you said earlier, where they prog, where they hard rock, where they AOR, pop rock, which is a genre and kind of is and kind of isn't. They were
Yeah.
probably one of the few UK bands that you would pop into that kind of bracket. But who else sounded like Magnum, or who else did Magnum sound like? But well, nobody. You put on
No,
a Magnum album, whether it's Kingdom of Madness, right through to the singles off the new album, and you go,
it's them.
"That's Magnum,"
Yeah.
and that's down to Tony Clarkin and the way that he plays and the way he structures songs. It's yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and one of those guitar players too. We haven't really talked about that. He's not one of
Mm.
those guys that he doesn't have a showy style, right? His playing is always for the song. You do get some guitar solos, right? You get some nice riffs, but he was never all about, look at me, right? But behind the scenes, writing and arranging and making sure that this Magnum machine keeps going on year after year after year. That's all due to him. It's all due to him.
Yeah, and, and very much a signature sound. As you say, he was quite concise, quite to the point, always writing and playing for the song. That maybe comes from the fact that he was taking the ideas from here to there. But you hear his guitar tone and you immediately know it's him. It can't be anybody else, can it? You know, others have tried and never quite get there either. So
Yeah, yeah. So Tony Clarkin, born November 24th, 1946 in Birmingham, dies on January 7th, 2024 at the age of 77. He will be greatly missed. So hopefully everybody watching tonight, play your old Magnum favorites, buy the new album when it comes out at the end of the week. I'm sure we'll be talking a bit more about the upcoming Magnum album in the days and weeks ahead. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, rest in peace, Tony. Sad day. Sad day. This is on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Before we go, James Kottak. Thank you, Stephen. Get so wrapped up in emotion, you forget all about it.
yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, so 2 for 2 today, unfortunately. James Kottak, born December 26, 1962. He actually did pass today. So Tony looks like passed away a couple days ago, January 9th. Of course, Tony played with Scorpions and Kingdom Come and God, Michael Schenker, right? I mean, he's been with everybody. Been with
Yeah, I mean, James Kottak is, I think, probably most remembered for his time with Scorpions. 19 years, I read today, and
Yeah,
19
long
years, the
time.
longest serving drummer they ever had, which I would never really have connected with. But then when you go and see the amount of albums that he played on, that makes total sense. It's just they happen to have nothing to do with him or his talent, not be those albums. Do you know that's not the albums that he played on. He played on the kind of latter era. But yeah, nearly 20 years with the band. And Kingdom Come, the first two albums that they released, that's probably what you'll be most remembered for. But he played with Buster Brown. He recorded with Montrose.
Yeah.
He was on the Mean album. He was in the Macaulay Schenker group. He played with Warrant. He was in Dio for a very short space of time. I must admit, I don't particularly remember that. I would guess
I
that was
don't
live
either.
and,
Yeah.
and various things. And yeah, in more recent times, maybe a slightly controversial figure, some of the content he's put out on social media has not necessarily been to everybody's taste. And also, he didn't leave Scorpions in the best of terms at certain points. He's had demons to battle in various things. But I'll definitely remember him for this album, the debut from Kingdom Come, because, yeah, it's a Led Zeppelin clone and all this kind of.
Well, good. Yeah.
Let's not take away from any of the talent that's involved on that album. And the drumming, oh, is powerful, it is precise, it's booming, it's bombastic, it's fantastic. It's really, really good. And you don't play guys like Ronnie Montrose and Michael Schenker and Scorpions for that length of time unless you have something about you. Do you know,
Oh
you
yeah.
can't,
Yeah.
you just can't do that. So yeah, it's a real shame. I mean, 61, no age at all.
I'm just a couple years older than me. Yeah, that's
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have any information on how he passed away, so I'm not really sure. But I'm sure we'll find out in the coming days. But yeah, I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything regarding that at all, and easy to speculate. So let's not.
Yeah.
Yes, I would rather just focus on the great albums that he was involved in. Come Black by Scorpions is one that I really like too. I like Humanity Hour 1. It's not always a massive favorite with fans. I chose it as a wild card on the show we did about Scorpions on the UK Connection not all that long ago. And he was a great drummer and a really strong part of the band for a long, long time. I saw him play with them too, and he just fitted like a glove. That has to be said. He was excellent with them live. Really good.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was on, so he played on Macaulay Schenker Group and the MSG album from
Yep.
1991. He was on Ultraphobic with Warrant. Yeah, well, a lot of Scorpions albums. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that he played on all these Scorpions albums during these years where there wasn't a lot of attention on the Scorpions for various reasons, which, kind of sad, right? But yeah, Michael Lee Firkins, he played the Two Kingdom Come, Mean by Montrose, Buster Brown, Ashba, Black Sheep, and plus he had all the Kottak albums, the solo records. So pretty big discography actually. So the guy was very, very busy from when he first burst on the scene, up until his death. So yeah, so sad day in rock and roll, folks. James Kottak and Tony Clarkin. Again, visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together all the damn time. You know how it goes, guys. Go out and celebrate the lives of these great musicians. We do that by going and listening to their music again, enjoying it. And while we may mourn their deaths, I think it's more important to keep their memories alive through their music because we can do that for the rest of our lives. So thanks for watching, everybody. For Steven Reid, I am Pete Pardo. Have a good one. Bye-bye.